Welcome back, true believer. Can't I get you anything? Some Merry Marvel Mayhem to get the old pulse pounding?
I said Venom the Last Stand like 3 times in this video in the beginning. I don't know why. I know the movie's called The Last Dance. I call it The Last Dance like near the end of the video, so please ignore me. So continue. Hey there, true believers. Joshua Westbrook here, back with some more Merry Marvel Mayhem to get the old pulse pounding. Venom the Last Stand has come out, and it's been out for a while, so I think it's time to talk about it. Is Venom the Last Stand really the last stand for Tom Hardy? Is it really the last time he's going to show up as Venom? Is this the end? How was the movie? What does the future look like? What's up with Agent Venom? We're gonna talk about all of that right now. What I first want to mention there's going to be full spoilers. I waited a little while. The movie's been out for like I think 2-3 weeks by this time. So if you haven't seen it and you still want to, then please get out of here and go watch it and then come back later. But yeah, full spoilers for Venom: The Last Dance. I'm going to talk about everything, beginning, middle, end. So if you haven't seen it, you don't want to be spoiled. You've been warned. All right, cool. Let's start with what I thought of the movie. It could have been better. I'm just gonna be flat out honest. It could have been better as a Venom movie. I liked the first two. I really enjoyed the first one. I think the first Venom movie is my favorite movie. Let There Be Carnage, I didn't like as much because I think that they doubled down on all the wrong part. Like the bond between the comedy bits between Eddie and Venom, the symbiote. I know purists are gonna say the symbiote is not called Venom. The symbiote is the symbiote. He's only Venom when it's Eddie and Venom to get the symbiote together. But for the sake of this movie, the movie universe, the symbiote is called Venom. It's different in every universe. So I'm gonna call it the symbiote Venom, but that's only because that's what it is in the movie universe. All right, so don't come at me. I know the difference between the symbiote and Venom, what they're called. But yeah, as I was saying, the comedy between Venom and Eddie was well done in the first movie. I think they doubled down and overcompensated in Let There Be Carnage because it got a little ridiculous and a little over the top. Like it was still fun to watch, but then like they had a fight with each other in the apartment and they like literally broke up. It was a little out there. And then Venom didn't fight Carnage until the very end of the movie. And I'm like they should have had at least one more fight between there. But so that's why I didn't like the second one as much as the first one. But I still enjoyed the second movie. Carnage was really looked cool. My friend Jacob, he's a real Carnage fan. He didn't like how they did Carnage, but I thought they did Carnage fine. I thought the second one was okay. The fight between Venom and Carnage was really good. I really did enjoy that. First one was still better in my opinion. Now this third one, I have to say, I'm sorry to say, it's my least favorite of the Venom movies. I didn't like it as much as either of the other two. Um, there are moments in it that I do like, but ultimately, like I didn't go in expecting a lot because it is a Sony Universe Venom movie. Like my expectations were already set by the first two, so I didn't go in like thinking, oh, they're gonna have Knull in there and it's gonna be this big Venom, maybe Spider-Man will show up. I didn't hype myself up. I'm like, this is gonna be another Venom movie. Let me mentally prepare for another Venom movie. I'm glad I did because it was, yeah. Um, let me start from the beginning. I did like the opening scene when Eddie and Venom are working together and like they're completely in tandem when they're freeing the dogs from the dog fighting ring. I did enjoy that scene because it had some really cool action. It had some like really creative use of Venom and Eddie, like Venom using Eddie to like throw him into people, and then like the tendrils coming out and everything. Like it was a really creative and really good fight that seemed like a culmination of three movies. That was like Venom at his best in that fight. Like Eddie and Venom were on the same level. They were working together. They were really good. I really liked that fight. That's I okay, yes. I'm just gonna say I liked that fight. The movie opens actually before that when Eddie comes back from the MCU. They completely wipe out any. I didn't figure they harp too much on it, but like there's a portion specifically because I watched both of the Venom movies before I went to see this one just so they were fresh in my mind. And Venom Eddie says maybe we should head to New York and talk to this Spider-Man, and then he gets zapped back to his universe. They cut that line completely. They keep the skinny dipping line, and then he gets zapped to his universe, and then Venom puts like a quarter on the counter, but a little piece of symbiote gets left behind. So I don't know if that's supposed to be a retcon, because he left the symbiote behind at the bar in the MCU before he transported back, and it showed that they were obviously willing to mess with the scene a little bit. So I don't know if they're retconning it and saying, "Oh no, that wasn't in the MCU, that was in this universe the whole time." I hope not, because that left the door open for Spider-Man to get the symbiote. Like I mean, if they just retcon that scene completely, then they just wipe out like what was the point? What was the point? You know, like they set it up where Venom saw Spider-Man, he got upset, he licked the screen, like oh they're gonna face off. Then No Way Home happens, he's back to his own dimension. Like okay, well that was a waste of time, but he left the symbiote piece behind. So I'm hoping that they're not trying to say oh no that never happened. It was actually in our universe the whole time, because then like I said that would be a complete waste of time. But yeah, I didn't expect like I said I didn't go in expecting a big payoff to the MCU thing. He came, he went. I figured that was going to be wrapped up pretty quickly, but we after that no before that even we saw Knull. Now Knull is a fairly recent character. He showed up in 2018, I believe. Donny Cates' run. I read Donny Cates' run. I read it beginning to end and King in Black. So theoretically, or not theoretically, ideally, they should have been setting Knull up since the first movie. But the first movie came out in 2018. So it was impossible. Knull literally did not exist before then. So they couldn't do that. But what they could have done was retroactively make it seem like Knull has been coming. And it would have been fairly easy. Just say, oh, why was Riot here? He was trying to run from Knull, or he was trying to pave the way for Knull. You can make up whatever. And then, Carnage, our symbiote spawned a new one. That drew Knull's attention. You could have done, they could have done a little more. That's my whole problem with this movie. It didn't seem like a third movie to a sequel, to the first two. You know, it didn't seem like because third movies and trilogies, like, they're big wrap-ups. They're, like, everything has culminated in this one. They didn't have a lot of the characters. The characters that they did use from the first two movies didn't do much. And they leaned in on a whole bunch of new characters that either A, shouldn't have been in the movie, or B, we didn't care about, to be completely honest. Let me go over that. So Knull sends basically what's called a xenophage, which is a really scary alien that eats people and shreds them and spits their remains out of the back of its head. That was creepy. But he sends that after Eddie because he has a codex. In the comics, the codex, if I remember correctly, is like everybody that's ever bonded with a symbiote ever has a codex in their spine just by bonding with a symbiote. And Carnage was in absolute carnage. He was ripping them out of people to like help Knull come to Earth. I forgot exactly how it worked, but I remember Carnage was that he paralyzed Scorpion because Scorpion was Venom for a time, and he ripped the codex out of his spine, and then yeah. So, but in this movie, they changed it a little bit. They're saying that because Eddie died when Riot stabbed him in the first movie, and Venom brought him back to life, that created a codex So that's that's how they kind of made it in this movie. So the xenophage is after the codex because apparently Knull only needs one codex to come back to Earth, or to come to Earth, free his not to come to Earth. I'm sorry, to leave his prison. Because in the comics, Clintar, for a while they said Clintar was the planet the symbiotes were from, but then in Donny Cates' run, he kind of retconned that and said Clintar is actually a symbiote word that means prison, and they're keeping Knull in there. So he wants to. Knull's whole deal is that he's basically he was living in darkness, and then light showed up, and he's like, I don't like that. It's like you're sleeping, then someone comes in your room and turns on the light. You're like, please turn that back off. So he wants to sink the world back in darkness, in the comics at least. And I think they did kind of address that in the movie. And the movie, it took like a lot of the core elements from the comics. They changed things here and there, like the codex thing and whatnot. But they did say that Clintar means prison. Knull did want to return the world to darkness. So they kept some things from the comics. It was really easy for me to follow because I'm like, okay, this is from the comics, that's from the comics. They changed this, they changed that. So that was pretty easy for me to keep up with. But ultimately, Venom doesn't want Knull to escape. None of the symbiotes want Knull to escape. So they got to go on the run. And here's where the movie really, really shot itself in the foot. The xenophage could only see the codex, which it needed to free Knull, if Venom fully transformed. If the symbiote fully engulfed Eddie and he turned into Venom. So for a lot of the movie, they tried not to do that. Which, this is your final Venom movie, and you're gonna say, oh, we can't be Venom that much. That was not a very smart move. Like, third movies, they'll hinder the hero somehow. Like in Ragnarok, Hela broke Thor's hammer, and in Iron Man 3, his armor got shut down and he got stuck in Tennessee for a while. Like, the third movie challenging the hero's power in some way is not completely unheard of, but to say we can't transform into Venom for a good chunk of the movie, that's problematic a little bit for the final movie, I think, because it really reduces the action, the fight scenes, the superhero-ness of the superhero movie. But that's personally, I wouldn't have done that, honestly speaking. But that's the route they chose to take. So let me go back to these new characters that they were focused on. The new characters are Teddy Payne, Dr. Teddy Payne, and she is Agony. I don't think she's Agony in the comics. I'm not too sure. I don't think the Life Foundation symbiotes, I don't even think like they had like the first ones like got real too deep into their human hosts. They just kind of just showed up. And over the years they've shown up again with different hosts, but I don't believe she's Agony in the comics. She might be, she might not be. I think she was a man in the comics, actually. I think they gender flipped her. I'm not entirely sure. But Teddy Payne, well, she had this whole backstory. She had a older brother. He wanted to be a scientist, but then they got struck by lightning at the same time. She got this big scar on her, and her brother died, so she became a scientist and worked in Area 51, where he wanted to be. Like, okay, she's fine. That's fine. She's honestly the only new character they should have added. Because then you have Rex Strickland. And Strickland was a... Chiwetel Ejiofor is a great actor. I loved his performance. I love him and everything he shows up in. He didn't need to be in the movie. He didn't need to be in the movie. What they should have done is used Pat Mulligan. Because Pat Mulligan, Toxin, was... okay, let me backtrack. In the previous movie, they made a big deal about him being upset because Eddie kept getting away from him, and he wanted to, figure out what was going on, figure out about the symbiotes, stop Cletus, bring in Eddie, solve all this problem. Like he got mixed up, and then in the end he got gravely injured, and they set it up perfectly for Pat Mulligan to be basically in Strickland's role in this movie. Because Rex Strickland is, I think he was in Donny Cates' run, and he was like a Vietnam veteran that bonded to a symbiote in the past. He's a really cool character. They could have saved him for this supposed Agent Venom movie that they've got, and used Pat Mulligan in his place. because Pat Mulligan, he was a high ranking. I think he was a sergeant or a captain. He was a high ranking officer. They could have brought him in to hunt down Eddie, and he could have had the toxin symbiote. He had a symbiote. I don't know if it was supposed to be a named symbiote. It was green, but I don't think it was Lasher because he was like swirling around. He didn't look like Lasher. I don't think it was a named symbiote, and he definitely wasn't toxin. They actually said, "Oh, his original symbiote left him for dead." So I'm assuming, he did get the in the comics. I read the Venom versus Carnage comic a long time ago, when Pat Mulligan first became Toxin, and Toxin was Carnage's spawn. So what I'm assuming happened off screen is Carnage's spawn, because we saw in his eyes in the second movie, he did have the Toxin symbiote, Carnage's spawn in him, but I guess at some point it left him for dead, and then they brought him to Area 51, and he becomes this weird green symbiote. And then he did nothing. He did nothing. He sat in the cell, he ominously warned about Knull, and then he died. He didn't do anything. When the Xenophage shows up, he distracts it for about 3 seconds, and then he gets shredded. Like, if you'd have taken out Strickland and put Pat Mulligan in his place, hunting down Eddie, and then he has a symbiote on him, then you get a little more action, you get a little more of a challenge for Venom. Because, I guess it was challenging because he couldn't fully transform, but he did anyways when he was fighting Strickland's men. So, I think, because this is the third movie, go all out. You should have had Toxin be the one hunting down Eddie. Like I said, Strickland was good. He was a good character. I actually liked him. I think they were setting it up so you didn't like him, but, he made a lot of sense. Teddy Payne and Christmas Girl, they were like, we need to study and care and love the symbiotes. And he's like, these things are bringing a god that's going to destroy our world. We need to destroy them. We can't do this. Even when Eddie killed the soldier, and then the Xenophage ate another one, he's like, I just lost 3 guys. And then Dr. Payne is like, did you get any samples? It's like, samples? Really? And I was like, I'm on his side. I was on Strickland's side, honestly. So like I said, I didn't not like his character. He played a good role in the movie. He was the perfect foil to Payne, and the perfect. He was a really good. Oh, I need to get Brock sort of character. He shouldn't have been in the movie. They should have had Pat Mulligan in that role. Because we had to focus on him and his story. We had to focus on Teddy Payne and her story. We had to focus on Christmas Girl and her story. Can I tell you about Christmas Girl? She shouldn't have been in the movie. Everything she did, everything Christmas Girl did, should have went to Teddy Payne. It should have been Payne. Because, she transforms into agony in the last 2 seconds of the movie, and then she's fully transformed for maybe 12 seconds, and then she goes back to normal. But Christmas Girl gets this whole arc, and I don't even know her name. I don't remember the character's name. I'm calling her Christmas Girl because she gets this whole the symbiotes are trying to help us arc, and she bonds with one, and she becomes honestly a more Lasher looking thing than Pat Mulligan was, and she has this they had so much focus on her, when Teddy Payne over here is the one with the backstory and the one that they've set up to be an important character, but Christmas Girl gets all the attention. She shouldn't have been in the movie. She shouldn't have been in the movie. Strickland and Christmas Girl shouldn't have been in the movie. The family Eddie runs into, I'm not going to say they shouldn't have been in the movie, but they shouldn't have been in the movie for as long as they were. After they dropped him off in Vegas, that should have been it. That should have been their role in the movie. If you really wanted the kid to see aliens, you could have had Venom pop out right when they dropped him off in Vegas and say, "Oh, thanks for the chocolate." Then wink at him. Then the kid's like, and then they drive away. And then that's it. That's it. They did not need to be in the final battle. It was unnecessary. They didn't add anything to it. Reese Fawn was his character's name. Martin. He blasted the Xenophage with a rocket launcher and ran away. And then they had to take time out of their day to save them. It didn't need to happen. They didn't need to be in the movie after that point. I liked the scenes with Eddie and the family. They had a sweet moment where Venom's like, "You would have made a good father." And then, Eddie's thinking about the family he could have had. it was a nice moment. It was a sweet little thing when they were traveling together. Once they dropped him off, that should have been it. They kept dividing focus among too many characters that did not need to be focused on for Venom's third movie. You should have kept the cast tighter. Speaking of Eddie and his family and Anne, nowhere to be found. Like, even if she doesn't have a role to play in this movie, which I kind of understand, they kind of wrap their story up in the second one. Just her and Dan are going to get married. They're fine. But like a phone call, like, hey Anne, I'm on the run. Just cut to her for a few seconds. I know Michelle Williams probably isn't cheap, but like cut to her for a few seconds. Like have him say, "Yo, I'm on the run. I'm okay." Then she's like, "Eddie, do you need help?" He's like, "No, I just miss you. I just want to say I still love you. I always will." Hang up the phone, and then that's her role. Like, third movies they're supposed like. I don't feel like they had a real connection to the first two. Like the most we got was he looked longingly at a newly married couple. I'm like, okay, I guess he's thinking of Anne. I don't know. They didn't say it. But she played a big role in the first two movies to not even be mentioned by name in this one. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even in Thor Love and Thunder, like, they found something for Darcy and Eric Selvig to do. It wasn't much. Darcy was in it for like a minute by Jane's bedside, and then she Skype called Dr. Selvig, but they showed up. That's all we needed for Anne. They didn't even acknowledge her. But they're focused too much on the new characters that didn't really matter, in my opinion. Yeah, Mrs. Chen came back, and I'm gonna say I did like the scene with Mrs. Chen. The dance scene, it was really goofy, it was really silly, and it was really unnecessary for him to turn into Venom and attract the xenophage. I actually would have preferred if it was just Eddie that had danced with her, with Venom tendrils coming out and doing things, because that would have because she had more of a connection with Eddie than she did to Venom. But I did like that scene. I really did. It was fun. It was funny. It was nice, and it made me feel something because Mrs. Chen is from the first two movies, and they built up a connection with her over two movies. And for the third movie, the big finale, she comes back, and they have this fun little moment. I liked it. I actually like that scene, goofy and silly as it was. It made me like, that's really sweet. I really like this. Venom's dancing with her. That I liked that. Because, it felt, that was the only scene I'll say that felt like, oh, this is the third movie in a Venom trilogy, in this Venom trilogy. Because, like, I don't know, I think that it just divided its attention way too much amongst all the new characters, the Christmas Girl and Strickland, who didn't even need to be in the movie. Their roles could have gone to Pat Mulligan and Teddy Payne. But, and then they couldn't turn into Venom fully. That also hindered it. Now, the final fight was pretty cool. The unleashed symbiotes, and they kept bonding. And I wish some of them would have made it. The xenophage tore through all of them. Then another one showed up, and this thing couldn't die. Got shredded by a jet engine, didn't die. Got blown up with a rocket launcher, didn't die. Like the symbiotes were wailing on it. Nothing killed it. Nothing killed this thing. Until and that's Eddie. Like, all these symbiotes are fighting for their lives, and Eddie's just standing there as Eddie because he can't fully transform. At that point, like, I think they could have thrown that out the window. The xenophage was there. It knew where they were. It knew, like, Venom was there. Where's he gonna go? He wasn't gonna run away. He wasn't gonna escape because it was gonna follow them wherever. I feel like they could have fully transformed and helped in the final battle. But all these other symbiotes are sacrificing their life, throwing themselves at the xenophage, getting shredded, and Eddie's just standing there, like, looking menacingly, like you want to help them? You want to help? I guess they gave Eddie a moment where he, like, rode on his motorcycle. He put together a plan. He took it out. Then Venom's like, "You did that by yourself. I'm proud of you." That was fine. But, like, I feel like there should have been more Venom in the Venom movie. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But it was cool to see all those symbiotes going at the xenophage. And then in the very end, Venom gets really big and he draws all of them in and all the xenophages, because Knull said, "Oh, forget it, send the kitchen sink after him," and all these xenophages start coming out, and Venom engulfs all of them, spits Eddie out, and then tells Strickland to melt them, and then Strickland freaking Strickland, he got shot. No, he got stabbed. Sorry, he got stabbed, and then he blew himself up, wasting him. Like I said, I think he's a kind of cool character from the comics. He's a minor character, but he's pretty cool. They just blew him up for no reason. I thought grenades took a minute. That thing's blew up instantly. You know, that's fine. That's fine. There was I'll circle back to that actually. The soldier that got his legs shredded. Apparently his name was Thompson. Somebody pointed that out on the internet there, and I was like, oh, that makes sense with this Agent Venom movie that they're talking about. But I'll circle back to that. Let me get back to that. Let me finish off with this movie first. This movie. The Venom gets melted by acid, gets blown up by the grenade. All the xenophages are gone. Strickland dies. The family is safe. Teddy Payne becomes agony for like 0 seconds. Christmas Girl loses her symbiote. She didn't need one in the first place. She didn't need to be in the movie. That should have been agony in that final battle. You know, why are we focusing on Christmas Girl and her Christmas themed symbiote? It should have been agony. And you know, a symbiote comic fans, Leonardo DiCaprio point like, hey, I know that one. You know. Sorry, yeah. It's just so frustrating because like the potential's there, they just tried to do too much, and it ultimately did not work out, in my opinion. But yeah, after that, Eddie goes to New York because he even though he wasn't trying to talk to Spider-Man, he still wanted to go to New York to coerce the judge, drop murder charges, and get him back on his feet there, clear his name, because he got framed for killing Pat Mulligan, which honestly I think that enough went down where they didn't need to add that layer on top of it in the second movie. I feel like he was on the run for a lot of other things. They didn't need to add killing Pat Mulligan on top of that. Again, Pat Mulligan should have been the one hunting him down instead of Strickland with the toxin symbiote. Maybe some other soldiers. Strickland at one point, he's like, oh, they've approved the use of the Six. I'm like, shut up, Sony. Because, you know, they've been trying to do their Sinister Six movie forever. And then the Six show up, and it's just like a couple army guys. They probably got killed immediately. I don't know. Maybe Thompson was one of them. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. They weren't special. There was no need for yeah. Anyways, Eddie goes to New York, and you know that was a sweet little scene where it's playing that "Memories Bring Back Memories," and then it's showing the scenes from the first two movies, and then he goes to the Statue of Liberty. And he's like, "I won't forget you, buddy," and that was a sweet little scene. I liked that. That was sweet. But apparently Venom had died. Then there was a post-credit scene with Knull saying, "I'm coming," and then there was another one with a roach, because Dr. Payne said, oh, the cockroaches will survive when we destroy Area 51. And there was a cockroach. The guy from the bar ran away, all scared, and then there was a broken symbiote containment canister. I think it's meant to say, hey, maybe some Venom symbiote got on the roach, because they did catch in the bar in Mexico, they caught a little piece, the piece of Venom he left behind. So maybe they're saying, hey, the Venom symbiote got on the roach and the cockroach can survive for long periods of time. It'll find its way to someone. Maybe. Which leads me to my next thing. Is this really the end of Venom? I don't think so. Because why would they set up Knull? And then all the interviews they were saying, oh, it's just the beginning. Knull's coming. Where is he coming to? Venom's gone. You know, the King in Black, he fought Venom. That was the whole, he fought the entire Marvel universe, but, his primary antagonist was Venom, you know, and Venom beat him and became the King in Black in the end. So, are they going to do an Agent Venom movie? Because, let me circle back to that soldier. He got his legs eaten. In the comics, Flash Thompson, you all know Peter Parker's bully. He joined up to the military out of high school, I think. And he fought in the big one. They can't be too specific with wars now because Marvel has been going for so long. I think Punisher started out, he was a Vietnam veteran, and now he's an Afghanistan veteran. So they can't be really specific with the wars because Marvel's been going so long and the time scale's sliding, and they're like, eh. So I'll just say, Flash, he fought in the big one, and I think the big one is World War II. Actually, I'm not sure, but he that's not what he lost. He lost his legs in later when he became Agent Venom. But the symbiote gave him his legs back, and he started working for the government, and he became Agent Venom. So if they do this movie, if that soldier was indeed Thompson, I don't think we saw his face. I'm pretty sure he had a mask on, the helmet on the whole time. If that was Flash, and they're setting up an Agent Venom, are they gonna bring back? Uh, was it Joe Manganiello? Yeah, who played him in the Tobey Maguire movies? Are they gonna do the what's the guy's name from Amazing? I can't remember who played him in Amazing Spider-Man, but are they gonna bring him back? You know, are they gonna bring either of those two back, or are they gonna cast someone completely new? Um, I think either of those guys honestly would work. They both seem pretty like they be pretty good for the role, but and it's just rumor. There's no confirmation that it's happening, but who's Knull gonna fight? The Sinister Six? Is Knull gonna be the final bad guy for the Sinister Six? This is gonna be Morbius, Vulture, Craven, Agent Venom, Agony. She's still around. And Julia Carpenter. or Anya. Or Maddie, one of the Madam Web girls. And then they're all gonna come together and be the Sinister Six. And then Knull's gonna show up and fight the Sinister Six. Sony. I'm sure El Muerto was gonna be one of the six members, but then that didn't work out. So like, let's do Agony. Let's set up Agony, and then like, I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, if it is Agent Venom, if that I don't know. It'll be cool, but like, there's only so much they can do in these Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man, and like the they need to stop. They need to stop. Sony needs to stop. I'm like, Spider-Verse movies are peak. Like Into the Spider-Verse, my favorite animated movie of all time. Probably my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Across the Spider-Verse, peak. Like, how do they go from making peak Spider-Verse movies to making, like, the Morbiuses and the Madam Webs of the world, and like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't know. I would like Tom Hardy to come back at some point. Maybe if they do the Secret War, if they do the 2015 version, and they pull in all these other multiverses, maybe he'll show up and finally face Spider-Man. Finally get the spider. He didn't get the spider at all. 3 movies in, he never got the spider. And you know what? There was a good excuse, because in the comics, Knull has a spider on his chest, and you're like, well, why is that? Because he never interacted with Spider-Man, because it's not a spider, it's a symbiote dragon. The Grendel, it's a symbiote dragon basically, but it looks like the spider symbol. They could have like, when Venom got the codex, he could have like connected with it, and then like, he could have been like, oh, the spiral could have appeared on his head, and then like it could have formed the dragon on his chest, but it been white. And then Eddie's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "I don't know. It came from Knull. It's a dragon Grendel." Blah blah blah. But they could have done, the comics gave them the perfect excuse to do the spider without relating it to Spider-Man, but they didn't take it. They did. So Sony needs to stop cooking. They need to stop, because they're not. This Venom movie was fine. But, like I said, it could have been a lot better. Honestly, if they'd have just taken out half the new characters they introduced and focused up on the core elements of what made the first 2 Venom movies, and actually like made it seem like the cap end to a trilogy instead of trying to introduce all these new elements, I think it could have been a lot better. But ultimately, I didn't really like it as much as the first 2. It was okay. It had some moments. But I wish it was better. I don't know where they're gonna go. They need to stop. They really do. They really do. I don't have anything else to say. That's it. That's it. Venom: The Last Dance. Maybe it is The Last Dance. Maybe we'll see Agent Venom. Maybe Eddie will show up again. Who knows? But I don't know what their plan is for Knull. And part of me doesn't want to know, honestly speaking. But they're gonna chug on. So whatever happens, happens. That's it for me. Did you like Venom: The Last Dance? Go to facebookblog.com, vote in the poll. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know how you felt about it in the comments down below. Let me know if I'm off, if I missed something, if I'm wrong, or if you agree with me, whichever one it is. Thanks for watching. Face front, true believers, and I'll see you in the multiverse. Bye.